The historical documents.
Historical documents. Hello and welcome to the 6th episode of Cinema Decon, deconstructing and overthinking the movies of our younger years. My name is Steve, and on this podcast, we will revisit the movies that we keep in the back part of our minds as flawless masterpieces, untouchable by any criticism. And hopefully they stay that way. Join us as we rewatch a randomly selected movie from our list of 300 plus from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. With me on this journey is my co-host, whose only reward is that justice has been done. How are you tonight, Aaron?
I'm doing good. I am still recovering from what has been a crazy busy week at work this past week and a half, actually. Barely had any time to squeeze in any movie time. Thankfully, I was, hence why we're here today. So what we do here at Cinema Decon is rewatch an old movie with the hopes that they're still as good as we remember them. Then Steve and I meet up to talk about it, point out our high and low parts, and give it a rank and place on our mega list.
Before we watch our target movie, we first record our memories and recollections of it. Then we proceed to go and watch that movie. So far, our memories have been both perfect and completely wrong at the same time.
Much as in life.
That's very true. Today's movie is the 1986 comedy Three Amigos, directed by John Landis, written by Steve Martin, Lorne Michaels, and Randy Newman, starring Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, Martin Short, and Cinema Decon Hall of Famer John Lovitz in a quick cameo. Aaron, what are your recollections of the comedic masterpiece that is The Three Amigos?
Oh, man. I got to say, it was probably one of my favorites from that era from a comedy perspective. I'm fairly certain this is the first time I actually saw Martin Short. I've known, obviously, Steve Martin and Chevy Chase from several other things, but I'm guessing this is the first movie I actually saw with Martin Short in it. It is a wildly hilarious movie. I haven't watched it in a while, and I could probably close my eyes and get the majority of the movie correct in my head. I do remember a lot of the jokes flew over my head as a kid when I first watched it. So when I watched it later as an adult, and I was like, oh. So it's going to be a great movie. I'm glad we get to watch that next.
This movie was played a lot in my household growing up. It was on HBO a lot. One of those HBO movies that you just it was always on. Yep. And it got rented a lot as well, to the point where, this is the first movie that I remember seeing all three of those guys. When we first met in Atlanta, this was one of those movies where we would just be having entire conversations just quoting this movie. And we can probably still do that almost from memory. I also watched this last year, mid-pandemic, one of those rewatches. And I can say from here that it does hold up. I had completely forgot the beginning where they're in the movie studio and you've got John Lovitz again.
Oh, yeah.
And Phil Hartman at the beginning.
Hey, yes.
Just a couple of cameos that I completely forget.
Their little portrayal of silent Hollywood, which was interesting because that's the first time I'd seen what that even might look like. I couldn't tell you how accurate it was, but it gave a sense of what Hollywood might have been like in the silent era.
Yeah, I was trying to get my kids to watch it last year, and they had zero interest in it. Here's me just laughing to myself while my wife looks at me like I'm an idiot, and my kids lose interest. They love the buttercup scene,
of course,
but the rest of the movie wasn't really their cup of tea.
What about the singing animals at the campfire?
Oh, they didn't get that far.
They get into that one.
Yeah, they didn't get that far. Good night, Ned. But this movie's timeless. I don't think this one's ever going to get old. Good, wholesome humor that anyone, I think, can laugh at.
I'm sure some anti-gun nut not be happy with the amount of firearms in the movie. I mean, for God's sakes, they're using real bullets. Tell us we will die like dogs. I can quote that whole movie right now, I swear to God.
Look up here. Look up here.
Hey, you guys. I still do that from time to time. Look up here. Look up here.
I still do the gonna make it. Gonna make it. Gonna make it. Gonna make it.
Gonna make it. Didn't make it. Didn't make it. Didn't make it.
And I've always loved, and this is not really a spoiler, everyone who's listening to this podcast has seen Three Amigos, but I love the ending with, I think it's Steve Martin, where he's like, I'll come back. And she looks at him and just goes, why?
Why?
Why? What are you guys really good at? We can sew.
We can sew.
If only we'd have known that sooner.
Maybe we take a walk and then you can kiss me on the veranda. No, lips will be fine. Oh, yes.
All right, well, we will go out and watch The Three Amigos.
I fired up. We both fired up. Fired up.
We crushed the Federales in the plains of Oaxaca. Together we burn the village. And raped the horses. And we rode off on the women. Rode off on the women. And we plundered. Pruned the hedges of many small villages. Who the hell are you? Another one of the goddamn gringos. Take this monkey away. Put him with the other Yankee maricon. What is happening around here today? Are gringos falling from the sky? Yes, El Guapo.
And we're back. We have watched Three Amigos.
Tres amigos.
And it was the best $3.75 I have ever spent.
You can't put a price on freedom.
It wasn't available to stream anywhere, so I was able to find an old copy DVD on Amazon for $3.75, and it got here within a day. That's good service.
God, imagine trying to do this podcast back when this movie came out.
The hard part was finding the remote for the actual DVD player. I haven't used it so long.
Whoa! You still use your DVD player? You mean you got to use your hands?
There's going to be movies that we cover on this podcast that are going to be slogs. You know, they're going to be, that was rough to watch. Not looking forward to reviewing it. Middle ground. Some above par ones. We've had a couple above par movies. We've had a couple, okay ones. But I think you might be with me that this one was an absolute joy.
Yes, this movie is a national treasure. I loved it.
From the moment that intro started, and you've got all three of them on horseback singing their theme song, is just a smile for the next hour and a half.
The funny part about it was, as soon as the music kicked off, I instantly remembered all the words.
Every single word.
I sang along to every song in that in that show, including the 21 seconds of Three. I'm not going to do all 21 seconds. But yes, I timed it.
I was hoping you knew how long it was. I was curious.
We asked the hard-hitting questions here at Cinema Decon.
It is them three singing, I believe, too. I don't know how if they did any tricks to actually.
In some of them, definitely. In the campfire, I'm pretty sure it wasn't, except for maybe Martin Short.
It was all three of them singing, but it was pre-recorded.
It didn't, because it sure as hell didn't sound like Chevy Chase. Martin Short, definitely, but I didn't think that was Chevy Chase.
Steve Martin, who we have seen live play at Bonnaroo with the Steep Canyon Rangers. Great show.
Kind of sad he didn't whip out a banjo. I know it wouldn't have worked well for this genre, but it would have been cool.
Yeah. But all songs co-written by, or solely written, or co-written by Randy Newman, and they're very non-Randy Newman-esque songs. I mean, I think of Randy Newman, I think of Toy Story or Major League, not Old West.
And funny enough, every time I think of Randy Newman, I think of the Family Guy skit about Randy Newman narrating the most mundane things. Going to pick an apple, takes a bite, another bite, looks at it for a second, another bite. That's what I think of when I see Randy Newman's face. So yeah, it shocked me to realize that Randy Newman was not only a writer of the script, but a writer of all the songs. It's definitely not Randy Newman.
Not to mention he's the singing bush.
Oh, God. Oh, yes. I tried getting a list of all the songs. I was starting to write down all the songs they were going. One, it was going too fast. And two, they started talking over it when I wanted to pay attention to that because that was funny as hell.
The two that I remember are
the Camptown Ladies.
Well, Camptown Ladies, Blow the Man Down, and Around the Mountain.
You'll be coming around the mountain, blow the man down. My body lies over the ocean.
Oh, Bonnie, yeah.
Yeah. And then for He's a Jolly Good Fellow. Those are the only four that I was able to get over the chip, 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 chip.
Nanny! I had subtitles on, so he actually says Neddy there.
Neddy?
Yeah.
I never knew that. I never even thought to put on subtitles. Probably a good idea.
I'll go ahead and attempt the plot summary. A small Mexican town is being harassed by a Mexican warlord named El Guapo, and they need help. So after seeing a silent movie, this young lady contacts a group called the Three Amigos, who are actually actors, and they go to Mexico to defend this town under the guise of putting on a show. And once they realize that it's all for real, then they have to find their courage to be their Three Amigos for real.
Pretty much. Now, I got a rabbit hole one for you. What other movie does that plot line remind you of? And it's one of those things I never even thought about until I was watching this and actually trying to write my own plot summary.
Well, first thing that comes to mind for me is A Bug's Life. I got 2 kids, so Pixar's, always on. And A Bug's Life is exactly this.
Because of the kids. Sure.
Always because of the kid. I didn't cry, Coco. You did.
The one that came to mind for me was Galaxy Quest.
Oh, yeah.
This Galaxy Quest is Space Three Amigos.
You're right. It absolutely is.
And I'm fairly certain Galaxy Quest is on our list.
Oh, yes, definitely. I wonder if there was an old Western that's actually this exact plot line, in a serious format, more serious, that just, one of the, there's hundreds and hundreds of old West movies.
Yeah.
Spaghetti Western style. I wonder if there is.
I don't know. But speaking on that point, one of the other interesting facts I learned was Alfonso Arau. I'm not sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but the actor that played El Guapo was also in a Mexican film titled Tres Amigos. He was literally in Three Amigos twice. I don't know the plot of that film. I didn't get that far down the rabbit hole, but I thought that was kind of cool.
I always love the little tidbit that the guy that plays El Jefe, I don't have his name handy in front of me, but he goes on. He has a long career, but he actually plays the Secretary of State in The West Wing, Deputy Secretary of State. He's in the Situation Room many times.
Yeah.
Interesting. When we were watching at one point, let me find out who all these people are, and it's like, it's Jefe.
Would you say we have a plethora of national security issues? This is definitely one of those movies that we have, I'm sure both of us quoted random lines from this movie over and over again, multiple lines in just normal conversation. Just anything from, just like I said, the plethora line to,
well, there's the plethora line. There's look up here.
You guys.
There's so many jokes that I didn't even catch, until you actually watch it with a critical eye, trying to pay attention to everything. I never once noticed the mail plane joke, which is a terrible joke, but the way the three play it is great.
Oh, yeah. Especially the fact that
Chevy doesn't get it.
Chevy never gets it and just plays along. That's one of those jokes that when this came out, I didn't understand. 1986, I'm pretty sure I watched it that year.
Yeah.
I would have been 8 years old. I'm fairly certain I asked my mom what the joke was in that, and she had to explain it to me. So, awkward, but which she probably thought was not so hilarious, but still.
Yeah, so many. This whole movie is an hour and a half of little bits that they're doing that at some point they have no place in the movie or the storyline, but they're just so damn hilarious that they work all around.
Mm-hmm.
just little things like Martin Short talking about Dorothy Gish to a bunch of kids.
To a bunch of people who A, probably don't understand English, and B, have no idea.
Boy, you have got it. So Three Amigos starts off with it's 1916 in Mexico, and you got a Mexican street with. It's kind of nice having like old cars and people looking at these cars like they're out of place. It sets a good tone for the movie, especially for Carmen and is that her brother? Is that Carmen's little brother?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm assuming so.
Yeah, they're out of place in this bustling street, and then then they go into the cantina and they're way out of place.
Yeah, and then you do the typical trope cantina where the stranger walks in and all the calamity in the cantina just stop. Everybody turns around and looks at him for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
That whole trope that happens all the time, including just like the random gunfighter that's sitting outside the cantina, just twirling his revolver around.
Did you catch the name of the cantina?
No, I don't recall that.
It's Cantina del Borracho, which roughly translates to Bar of the Drunk.
I like it. That's one of those. That's a nice little point there. I like it.
This is where they go into the bar, the cantina. They ask for help against El Guapo. Nobody helps them. El Guapo meaning the handsome.
Except for the one random guy that says that he's going to help her after everyone else laughs and goes back to all their talking and drinking. He basically uses it to try to take advantage of her. She fights him off and runs out.
Typical American.
Yeah.
So then they leave and they go to a church, which I never noticed that they watched the silent movie in a church.
I was going to say, I didn't notice it was a church either, but it was one of those aptly timed where the kid is like, we're not going to find help here. And Carmen says something to the effect of, the Holy Mother will help us. And bing, the church bells ring.
I made a note of that because it fit. And it's kind of divine intervention for these guys.
But I did think it was odd. Maybe I need to brush up on my history, but I did think it was odd that they would be showing a silent gunfighter movie in a church.
It's probably the only place in town that could do that.
It's just one of those things I never thought of. So they go in and watch the silent movie.
The silent movie was great.
The first thing I could tell whenever they did the close up of the Amigos in their black and white, they are wearing way too much makeup. It looks ridiculous.
The excess makeup, the overacting that the silent movie era people had to do, and I don't know what it was like behind the scenes, but it looks like they're just having a ton of fun filming this stuff. I know there's like stories of the three guys kind of didn't get along, but it doesn't show. It looks like they're just having a blast.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things about their costumes are completely black with a lot of bright white lace on it. They wear red cummerbunds and red ties, which they're silent black and white film stars. The colors obviously aren't going to show up through the film. So that's one of those things when black and white TV that they did a lot is they would use specific colors that wouldn't look good in real life in color, but came out well in black and white film. We saw that in like Doctor Who, for example, and things like that, where the colors in real life never matched what they end up looking like in black and white. And I think that adds to the overall effect of how out of place they look when they wear those costumes later, which I thought was pretty funny.
Well, and then when we do see them in person in just a few moments, where they're in their costumes for Amigos, and they're
oh my god, the green jacket that Ned's wearing and the golfer's hat. I want that. That's a Halloween those three in the Halloween costumes right there.
That would be good. Mm-hmm. But first they have to send for help, so they go to the telegraph office and they create the great letter, which gives us that wonderful line of Infamous. Yeah,
they craft a really good, really concise 25 peso message to which they can't afford, which brings up a plot point of if they had saved for a couple more weeks, this whole issue might have been, the entire movie may not have ever happened if they would have been able to get that real message out.
That one word is kind of the catalyst of the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
It means these things.
It means all the things you said, but completely not more than fame. But yeah, they can track that message on, and he sends it via telegraph, via Morse.
Which then we cut to Hollywood, California, where we meet the studio executives of what was the name of the studios? I didn't write that down.
I had that. Goldsmith Pictures. Goldsmith Pictures with Harry Flugelman, played by the wonderful Joe Mantegna.
Yeah, I always forget about this scene with Joe Mantegna, Phil Hartman, and John Lovitz.
And Phil Hartman and John Lovitz playing the stereotypical yes man to the Hollywood exec. I love the Phil Hartman just picking up the phone and immediately talking like it was a direct line to whomever he needed at the time.
Yeah, pretty bold of the Amigos to ask for wages.
Yeah, so they start. Yeah, he starts going through the discussions of how they were doing really good when they stuck to the original formula of the three wealthy Spanish landowners. I almost said Land Rovers. Wealthy Spanish Land Rovers. Now,
which I had no idea until this watching that they were supposed to be Spanish or wealthy Spanish landowners who fight for the rights of peasants.
Yeah,
that I so never would have guessed.
It's basically Robin Hood, and I remember the line, but it never hit me. Maybe there just weren't that many actual Spanish actors in Hollywood in 1916. Plausible. And they probably didn't care that they didn't look Spanish at the time. Yeah.
Especially with all that makeup on. I mean, Casper's riding upon horses there.
Exactly. Also, three wealthy Spanish landowners in Spain speaking English. That was another thing that was odd was they're in Mexico. Everybody speaks English. The silent film is title card and everything in English.
Luckily, all of El Guapo's henchmen also spoke English. They were all very well educated.
Of course.
Yeah, so the Three Amigos, they are successful film actors, and they asked the studio for actual money rather than being paid in perks, because they are traditionally paid in a place to live. They've got free food. They've got free clothes. And once they ask for actual money, Mr. Flugelman, Joe Mantegna, flips out, takes their clothes, kicks them off the lot.
Like, you're staying in the studio mansion, right?
And dude didn't hesitate. It was just, you're like, my big money makers, you're fired.
Yeah, this is when Phil is up. The Amigos are under the mansion. Like who was on the other end of that? Because it's like those clothes, those were provided by the studio, right? It's like, yeah, that's from Amigos. Or not Amigos, but it was another one. And then he picks up the phone. He's like, take the Amigos' clothes. And then within 1 second, like six women come in and literally start undressing them right in front of him.
To anyone who disagreed with our choice of John Lovitz as a Hall of Famer after Wedding Singer, I'd like to point out that we've only done 6 movies, and he's been in 3 of them. I'll just pull, A League of Their Own next.
Going for a streak there.
John Lovitz is a national treasure.
Absolutely.
So now the Amigos are homeless, penniless, and mostly clothless, and they get kicked out of the studio, and they don't know what's coming up next, but in show business, something always pops up.
Telegram for the Three Amigos. Another trope.
Yeah.
We missed the first wonderful Chevy Chase joke, though, while they're standing there right before getting de-mansioned and de-clothed. Joe Mantegna is like, boys, do you know what nada means? And they all kind of sit there for a second, and then Chevy Chase, Dusty, John says, is that like a light chicken gravy? Nothing. 0.
He also has that great line, I would like to continue to work for free, Mr. Flugelman.
Which is that was one of the plot points that I never picked up in some of my previous viewings that I never realized they weren't getting paid.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time throughout the decades when I saw this movie, it always picked up. They're already in Santa Poco. This whole movie studio beginning just always seemed to miss.
It's a good setup, though.
Yes, it is. They get the letter. They think they're being invited to put on a show with the great Mexican actor El Guapo.
Yeah, who is more than famous.
Which leads to one of the funniest parts of the movie.
Oh, yes. They basically have to break back into the studio, into the wardrobe department. And I've always, and this is, again, one of those quotes that I've used this many, many times. And most of the time it just doesn't land because not as many people are as cool.
Yeah, it's an unknown joke that, say, if you always miss the beginning of the movie, you miss this joke, and it's great. You've got Steve Martin up on the wall of the studio trying to give them a signal that it's clear to climb over the wall. So you got Martin Short, Chevy Chase crouching in the bushes.
They're crouched down Martin. And just looking around. He's been, woohoo! Yeah, he starts out really simple, like, oh, woohoo, woohoo. Hey, hey. Look up here. And it goes on. He gets really, really, really loud. And it keeps flashing back to those two who are completely oblivious. They're still crouching, not even talking to each other. They're just looking around like they're still waiting. And finally, he goes in this long rant of just really loud bird calls and finally gives up and just yells, "Hey, you guys!" And he goes back to whispering. It's okay.
So they finally get in the studio. There's a little montage kind of them putting on their uniforms. And then they escape the studio. That's pretty standard. But then we get to Mexico. The Amigos roll into town. Wait, first we get the German.
We get the German.
Yeah, the German
enters the bar.
Who's the first of our villains, kind of.
Dun.
Under villain.
He's a mini boss.
Yeah, there you go. He's a mini boss.
So he's the pilot, and he's still wearing his little flight headdress thing. We never see him take that off. We never see his hair or anything, but he's got his goggles up. Just goes straight to the bar and starts asking about how to find El Guapo. And of course, the dumbass that tried to accost Carmen earlier tries to annoy this guy, with the whole, "Hey, where'd you get that pretty little gun?" line.
Yeah.
To which the German very quickly puts him in his place with a single shot, along with 3 other people, I believe. And he goes on to make some of my friends will be showing up shortly. They are not as forgiving as I am, so please treat them with respect, kind of thing.
And I'd like to give a notice here to one of the best bartenders in cinematic history. He's only known as the bartender, but he's played by a guy named Fred Asparagus. But in every scene he's in, man, he steals it. Mm-hmm. If he's talking, he's stealing the scene. Because that leads into I don't remember what he says to the German, but when he's dealing with the Amigos, he's great.
Mm-hmm.
Because the German leaves, and then very shortly after, the Amigos walk in.
Like literally right after he leaves, the Amigos walk in. Now, obviously, these aren't the friends. We haven't met the other friends yet. But yeah, right after the Amigos walk in, everybody sees them, and they're like, "Oh, shit."
They assume they're the friends of the German, including the bartender, who's, "Are you are the wink, wink."
Which, of course, they assume he means you are the famous Hollywood actors, right?
But Chevy Chase has another great line there. He looks all serious. He goes, "We're not Mexicans."
Hi, we're from out of town. Can you tell us where the closest hotel is?
There's no hotel here.
Damn it, I could kill someone. Everybody jumps back.
Yeah, they order beer, and they don't serve beer. They only serve tequila.
And Ned's like, "What's tequila?" "It's like beer." To which they find out very quickly, oh no. It's a nice little kick to it.
Then we get introduced to our first dance number.
Yeah. My second favorite song of the movie. Probably the more famous one.
It comes out of nowhere. It is so just oddly placed that it's absurd and it works.
Yes. It's me trying to think, when would this have ever been in one of their movies in the first place? Let alone, why the hell would they do this in real life? But yeah, he's Lucky spots the piano over there and tells Dusty to go play it. Lucky and Ned jump right into the wonderful dance number of My Little Buttercup, complete with audience participation, which is great.
I always love that when they go back to the bartender at the end. My little buttercup,
I love you. Yeah, song's still in my head right now.
One thing that kind of was weird to me is that, so they were given the message to stay here, wait for the German. Then once Buttercup's done, it shows them walking out. It's like, why did they leave? It's
a good point.
They were told to stay.
But I'm guessing they obviously, when he said the German says to wait here, they completely just didn't know what he was talking about, so probably just ignored it. because I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. But yeah, this is about the time where they walk out and they see the bright red Tubman 601 plane.
Tubman 601
fly over, which is the German. First of all, Ned recognizes it's Tubman 601 because he flew one when he was a child actor as Little Nettie Knickers in Little Nettie Goes to War.
I want to see Little Nettie Goes to War.
I know, right?
But of all the past movies they mentioned, that's the one I want to see. Next up, the Amigos meet Carmen, and she is going to lead them to the village of Santa Poco. I've got a couple notes here as they travel there and enter the small town. I love the score of this film, just the background Western music. It's wonderful. And I love the settings. And I had to find out, like, where was this filmed? I mean, was this just Hollywood backlot? Because, I mean, there's times when it's obvious, small.
Like painted. Yeah, it's like the painted background in the sky.
But then there's times where they've got a decent amount of, the village and the street and then just desert. It was actually filmed at Old Tucson Film Studios, where they've also filmed Tombstone, Young Guns, Quick and the Dead, and Rio Bravo.
Nice.
It was filmed at a traditional Western filming location place.
Very nice.
They put some effort into it.
Mm-hmm. And even with the locations like in the title cards where it was obviously all painted backgrounds, and then when we get to the campfire scene, which is obviously a painted sky background, it's very reminiscent of old Hollywood when they obviously they didn't have CGI or anything, and it reminded me a lot of Wile E. Coyote cartoons.
With a coyote.
Exactly. But we'll get to that. The Amigos meet Carmen, and she's talking about, okay, we'll take you to Santa Poco. Before they actually get going, that is when the real friends of the Germans show up, which are two other German brothers.
German individuals, yeah.
And they walk in, and they're in nice white suits and hats and everything. So they obviously still don't stand out, but they look professional. And then as soon as they walk in, everybody in the bar is like, oh, hey, look at the two little sissies, to which they immediately regret.
They had just opened fire.
Oh yeah, they just slaughter everybody up on the balcony.
Now that I think about it, for having only one scene of blood, which is Steve Martin later on, is a pretty high body count for this movie. Since, as with a lot of Westerns, one shot, one kill for every single bad guy.
Mm-hmm. But not for the heroes.
No.
They always get grazed. So now we jump over to Carmen and the kid, which I don't know if we ever got his name.
I want to say Rodrigo, but I'd have to look that up.
Yeah, if we did, I did not write it down. But Carmen's riding in front, and Rodrigo is leading a single horse with all three amigos on it in a Ned sandwich, which is a running joke in the movie, because we'll see later. Yeah. but they're just holding on to each other like it's completely normal. They get into town, and the townsfolk come out to meet him. The town, I don't know if it would be their version of a mayor, or it was Carmen's father.
Yeah, I think he's the little tavern owner.
Yeah,
there. And
he starts reading this speech and doesn't even get very far into it when Dusty just walks over out of and just grabs it and signs it back to him.
And the kid asks him, "Can I have your watch when you're dead?"
Yeah, a lot of very awkward scenes in there. That one when they're eating. And everybody's just standing in the room staring at them eating. Dusty obviously can't figure out how to make a taco. He's like, you have anything besides Mexican food? All those little, like, Chevy Chase was like the king of the little one-liner quips in this one, I will say.
He was unhappy with the way his role was written. I guess he didn't like that he was kind of written as a dunce, the doofus of the three. But it's hilarious. I mean, the way he delivers some of those lines, you can't really picture anybody other than Chevy Chase doing that. To mess up a taco and then turn to a village of local Mexicans who made that food for him to say, "Do you have anything other than Mexican food?" That only Chevy Chase can deliver that line.
So then we flash the next morning where they're all sleeping in the same bed again. It's a single bed,
a tiny bed.
All three of them in the same bed. This time it's a Dusty sandwich. He's the one in the middle in the bed.
The next morning, as the ladies of the village are doing their laundry, you have three banditos that are part of El Guapo's crew. They are in need of more tequila. So they decide to go and raid the town of Santa Poco, and they head in. And that's where the Amigos are awakened, and they're annoyed at first because it looks like they want us to do a matinee.
And there's only like 3 guys. They said they were going to be 50. They better not try to short us on money. Typical Hollywood money grubber.
Yeah, so the Amigos have to get ready and head out and confront these 3 banditos who are just asking for tequila. They just want some free tequila.
Yeah.
I mean,
which they do get based off pure intimidation, but they do get their tequila.
This is where we get the first Amigos performance. So they ride out. They they announce who they are. They do a little 3-man shimmy.
Yeah, they do the little clapping,
background clapping.
Yeah.
Then they get on some horses and they start giving the one-on-one dialogue from the silent movie earlier.
Wherever there is injustice, you will find us. Wherever there is suffering, we'll be there. Line. Which Ned forgets his line.
Oh, yeah, Ned forgets a line.
And Dusty has to, whenever liberty is threatened, you will find the 3 Amigos. And then they do their obvious, typical, which
the Amigos
doesn't come over as well via audio.
Then they ride around the banditos on their horses, firing their blanks in the air.
Just freaking the 3 guys out, and they're like, "What should we do?" And they're like, "Let's go tell the boss. Let's go tell El Guapo what the hell's going on. I'm sure he wants to know." So they all leave, and everybody assumes, they frightened him away. Ah!
Everyone is ecstatic. They've chased off the banditos. They throw a great big party, fireworks, and the mariachi band.
They threw together a lot of fireworks really quickly. That whole town was laced with, like the spinny fireworks up on the poles and everything.
The party stares out though with Martin Short doing his very awkward dance that he used to do on SCTV and stuff. Yes. Yeah, no one can dance like other than that. That was great. Steve Martin doing lasso tricks, which he does himself.
Him doing them. Yep, that was all him.
Yeah, apparently he learned how to do lasso tricks while working the magic shop as a Disney cast member as a teenager. Kind of a neat origin story for Steve Martin.
Mm-hmm. Dusty, however, cannot play guitar. He's just strumming away. And he can't sing very well either. At least
That's
in that
such
song.
A great scene.
With
the old lady sitting next to him.
At him. They flash to him later, and Dusty's talking to that girl, and she's, do you have a girlfriend back in California? He's like, nah. He's like, you ever kiss a girl? It's like, yeah, sure. He's like, would you like to kiss me? Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean now? Like, well, we could take a walk and you kiss me on the veranda. Oh, no, lips will be fine. Another one of those jokes that I didn't get as a kid.
Didn't get it all.
That is just hilarious now. Again, another one of those little one-liners.
And then we also get the aforementioned Ned talking to a whole group of kids, regaling them with this story about how he met, I guess, screen legend Dorothy Gish. Is that a real person? I
didn't look that up.
I don't know. It's not a name I know.
Dorothy Gish is a real actress.
Oh, there you go.
Born 1898, so she would have been 20 years old at the time that this movie takes place. So this it falls in line with him meeting her as in like his little Nettie movies. Yeah. She would have been about his age, if not like a little younger. So it makes sense. Major movie stars in the silent era. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's a story about meeting one of your heroes that the kids have absolutely no clue what he's talking about.
Yeah, nobody in this town understands that they are actors and entertainers. They think they're real.
Yeah, had anyone actually understood that anecdote from Ned, that would have blown the lid off of this.
Yep.
Yeah.
A little crossover moment. It's just these kids watching this silent movie going, the historical documents.
Historical documents.
We'll just recycle this entire script. It's going to be the same.
Yeah. Well, and in my next note, right along with Galaxy Quest, as far as this is, El Guapo is a great villain, and we don't even see him till halfway through the movie. We only hear of him, and we see a couple of his underlings. And the first time we meet him, it's understated. These guys are telling they were shooting their pistolas in the air, and they're just trying to tell him about what they saw. And
he's in the middle of a photo shoot.
Yeah.
Hefe is standing over there in like Arabian garb, holding a sword up.
Yeah.
He's just standing there as still as possible for this old timey like gun powder flash camera that he has to stand really still for. And El Guapo's paused that. Listen to this story.
And they've built up El Guapo to be this vicious and vile human, and here he is just taking a picture.
Yep.
Yeah. He turns out to be quite, a mean person, but still,
yeah.
it's. I mean, they build him up, and then they subvert you with what they show you, and then add a whole ton of comedy on top of it.
But yeah, it's definitely a lot of comedy in there, which kind of underscores how evil of a person he is. But yeah, he starts. What should we do? Well, we'll take 50 men, go find him, open their stomachs, take out their intestines, and squeeze the shit out of them. I'm like, what the hell? That came out of left field.
Yeah. And it's later, but I'll mention it now. It was a humbling moment when I find out that El Guapo is turning 40.
Yeah, I had that listed down too. Son of a bitch.
As you watch as a kid, like, man, this guy just looks so older than dirt. He's an old Mexican warlord that's just out to run these villages, and then you realize, oh man, I'm older.
I'm older than him. But as far as the rest of his guys think, though, he's only turning 33. So
that's true. But
yeah, this is when so we cut to the next day, which is when El Guapo and his 50 men show up, which puzzles and confuses the Three Amigos, who are still sleeping in the same bed, in the same order. And, the bells are ringing at like, 6, 7 a.m., and it's freaking Lucky out. And he gets up, he's in his nightie at the window, like.
And they're hungover.
Looks like they want us to put on another performance. Like, well, we better get paid again. Carmen runs out, and he's like, it's El Guapo himself is here. You need to come now. You must ride. And Lucky's just like, all right, we'll start getting ready. They want an encore.
They get out there. They ride up face to face with El Guapo, and Steve Martin whispers close, "It's a pleasure working with you."
El Guapo doesn't know what he does. He still doesn't know what's going on. He's now seeing the craziness that his guys were describing to him. And then they go into their little speech, wherever there is injustice, where there was suffering. And then they ad-lib a little bit. And he leans in and is like, tell us we will die like dogs.
You will die like dogs.
No, we will not die like dogs. We will fight like lions, for we are the Three Amigos.
And then they commence to riding in circles again.
So at this one, is this the one where they're riding in circles around them? Or are they just doing figure eights in front of them?
Yeah, no, they're riding in circles around them, and this is when El Guapo goes to Jefe.
He's like, I like these guys.
They are funny guys. Just kill one of them.
Another line I've used many times, other than the just kill part.
Yeah, the just kill one of them part would not go over well in any corporate meetings.
You think?
Yeah, not anymore. So Jefe, just points, shoots, takes down Steve Martin. They all think it's a horse accident. They're helping him up. You okay? You okay?
Him off. They start tapping him in the arm. He's like, ow!
He's wounded. Yeah.
Gets blood on his finger.
Actual blood.
He's like, wait a second. Marches up to Jefe. Demands to see his gun. It's obviously still weird to El Guapo, but he's like, fuck it.
Which I love the confidence in the villains.
They're obviously still outnumbered.
They're humoring the Amigos at this point.
Oh yeah. So Jefe hands him his gun. He's spins it, opens it up. Ah, real bullets. You're in huge trouble, mister. And then he stares up at Jefe, and Jefe's just looking down on him. Hasn't moved a muscle. And that's when it clicks.
Yep.
It's like, oh, here's your gun back, sir. Excuse me. He walks back over. It's like, this is real. They're going to kill us. To which all three of them are standing there.
They're trying to be tough, but then they all start slowly break.
To which all three of them, they're spending macho and they're all crying.
Slowly break into tears.
I don't want to die.
I've already been shot.
What are we going to do? We're not going to get paid, that's for sure.
It's an interesting reaction, though, to the bullets. You know, when they, you're in big trouble, mister, and Chevy and Martin Short are like, oh, real bullets. Yeah. As if that has happened on a movie shoot. Yeah. Like it's actually happened before on one of their movie shoots, and they had to work around it, and someone got in trouble for it. That's the inference that they're trying to make.
Exactly. It's like, God damn it, not again. But then when he sees that they're not budging, he's like, oh shit.
So now they have to make a big apology to El Guapo.
Yeah.
And
this is where they explain to them and the whole town that they're just actors and entertainers. They're not real.
So the Amigos are, they're shown as the cowards they are, and they are forced to get on their horses and slowly ride out of town.
And then El Guapo basically takes a little revenge on the town for doing that in the form of
he sees Carmen,
stealing Carmen, and leaving the town in Jefe's control. To which they blow up the church. They throw in the church. They throw in a bunch of buildings, just destroy the town. It sucks.
It's a good move to show the viewer how evil they are by blowing up a church. They didn't just blow up, the tavern or something. They got to blow up the church.
But so it comes into like later that day or maybe the next day that they come back into town basically to get their stuff so they can leave. To which this is when they find out, there's nothing of yours here. El Guapo's taken everything. To which Dusty, again, with the one-liner, is like, see a small pair of cufflinks.
They find out El Guapo has taken Carmen too, and so as they're talking about what their next move is, Ned draws a line in the sand and starts putting
literally
draws a line in the sand, starts putting real bullets in his gun, and points out the obvious that they have nothing to go back to, and this is their chance to be the real Amigos.
And it takes a second, but Lucky jumps into the same bandwagon horse, pulls his gun out, spins it around, puts it back in, walks over. Dusty is not as convinced. He's like, damn it. All right, fine. He goes to he kind of puts his hats on reluctantly, and then as he reaches for his gun to do his little twirl, he shoots it through the holster. It ricochets off of it and hits something.
Well, let me ask you this. How did he already have real bullets in his gun?
That's a good point. Where's the spoon?
So now they've decided to be the real Amigos. They're going to find their way to El Guapo's compound. They're going to rescue Carmen and wing it, more or less.
Yeah,
more or less.
So and then the next one we get to is the campfire scene, one of my favorites in the movie. So during the campfire scene, that's when they discuss what the directions they were given, which was
across the
desert. You go east through the desert until you come to the singing bush. Each of us says the magic chant and fires one shot in the air to summon the invisible swordsman, and then he will show us the way to El Guapo, which is just ridiculous in its own right.
Yeah, we'll get to the singing bush, invisible horseman in a minute. I have thoughts,
but the campfire scene. This is again one of the ones where it's a obvious painted background, but it's
nice matte painting,
looking.
And then you got some stray animals that come up and listen. As they a very nice rendition of a song called Blue Shadows.
Yeah.
No, it's nice. It's a nice, kind of a midpoint.
Particularly when the horses join in as background. Boom, 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 boom. But yeah, you've got like when they start playing, like the turtle comes out and starts bobbing his head,
and the owl,
and the cactus. the horses are obviously the backup singer. There's the wolf. There's the cougar. I mean, animals I'm fairly certain aren't even around in that part of Mexico.
Then Ned, they each sing a verse, but then it's kind of interesting how they treat Ned like a little toddler.
Yeah, like a little boy. Like
he's all tuckered out.
Yeah.
And then they're all shocked when he sits up and starts singing, like, oh. Yeah. Even though he's a performer himself, it's kind of weird. It's a very weird scene, but I love that scene.
Yeah. And then they're all done there, and they do the little good night chant for everybody. Like good night, good night, Lucky. Good night, Dusty. Good night, Ned. Good night, Ned. And then the tortoise. Good night, Ned. I wonder who the voice of the tortoise was. Should have looked that up. That was probably Randy Newman too.
Probably John Landis.
But yeah, then we get to the blistering sun scene where they're going really slow on the horses and they're all tired out. Lucky they all stop and each go to their canteens, and Lucky's is empty. Ned's is completely full of sand, and Dusty's is completely full. He's just dumping it on his face. And then when he's done, he just throws it to the ground and it's still leaking out. They're both staring at him like, yeah. And then he's still oblivious to this. And then as it's leaking on the ground, he reaches in, starts applying lip balm to his lips. And that's when he looks over and sees that they're staring at him. He's like, oh, lip balm?
It's such a great gag. And it always just baffled me as a kid. Why was Ned's canteen full of dirt? Well, I mean, I understood that's a true total cartoon reference. Yeah. I was like, why would he fill it with dirt?
How in the hell? Because that's how hot it is.
Great acting on Chevy's side, just nonchalant, just chugging it down. So the singing bush. It's a wonderful scene, but it really it comes out of nowhere. The singing bush and the invisible swordsman. This isn't a fantasy movie. It's not sci-fi. It's not fantasy. There's no reason for a singing bush and an invisible swordsman to have anything to do with this plot.
No. This is 100% comedic. It has no place in the plot line, but it is funny as hell.
It is funny as hell. And I love it. But I am extremely curious how it got written and at what point in the movie. Because did they need to fill... We got to fill 5 minutes, guys. Let's throw something in here on their journey.
Invisible swords.
I mean, it is one of the best scenes in the movie. Where they're doing the singing bush is funny where they're talking to it, but when the chants for the invisible horseman, farty, 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 farty. And then, but one of my favorite parts is they get to the singing bush. It's literally this bush swinging the train, just belting out, coming around the mountain, blow the man down, and then it's like, it's why they walk over. It's like, excuse me, are you the singing bush? Really? I would look at him like, really? Then they go into the three chants where Ned goes first with the chip chip one, and then fires up. And then Lucky, he passes the notepad over, and Lucky does the farley one, fires, and then they both walk over to the other side and turn around, and then I honestly don't know to this day what the hell Chevy Chase said. It neither did the subtitles. The subtitles was just like incoherent,
like random gibberish. It reminded me of him it reminded me of stuff he's said in other movies, like Spies Like Us, Caddyshack type thing. So I'm pretty sure they just said, "Hey, ad-lib something."
Oh, most likely.
And then he fires, and he doesn't bother to fire up. He just fires straight, and then all of a sudden you hear this and then a ground indentation of a guy's body, which is done very well for '86.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
it looked good.
Yeah. Adding to the body count.
Great, you've killed the invisible swordsman. That's when Ned picks up the invisible hand, drops it, and it makes another pop.
You were supposed to fire up. We both fired up.
Which leads to one of the other quotes that I use all the time. Like living with a 6-year-old.
Which I can agree with.
And so now, they've lost their the only way they can find El Guapo when the wonderful Tubman 601 shows up. Like, I'll bet it's going to El Guapo's.
I really think that entire scene was thrown in for runtime, and they just said, we need to come up with an idea. It's gotta be. I mean, maybe you can stretch it to some sort of biblical allegory with like the bush, and the journey, and they're on a mission from God. There's maybe a stretch there, but otherwise, it's just we need to put our heads together, write a funny ass scene, and fill out this journey.
And it's not something that was just added later because they obviously had to have references to it from the campfire of where they're talking about how they need to get there.
Well, but the campfire scene was obviously also a soundstage sort of thing with the animals.
They could have
involved.
gone back and added, but yeah, it was still funny. So now they jump on their horses and they're basically following this plane in the direction of El Guapo. This is the point where we jump back to El Guapo's, I guess, fortress. Would be the
compound. I think it's an old mission. It's an old mission.
Yeah, and it's a shot of Carmen sitting in there. To which, like, El Guapo's woman or wife, or we never get that full detail, but his main
part of his harem,
his bottom bitch, basically.
Yeah,
comes in. And he's like, and then she starts explaining that El Guapo is going to have you tonight. Carmen, do you know what foreplay is? And she just looks at her like, no. Like, good. Neither does El Guapo. Again, joke flew right over my head as a kid. Now, totally makes sense.
But here we get El Guapo and Jefe having conversation about his birthday party. How El Guapo's turning 40, and Jefe has many gifts for him. El Guapo is only interested in one gift, which is the guns from the German. But Jefe is very adamant that he will love their gift and that they have a plethora of piñatas.
To which, he obviously goes into calling out Jefe for not knowing what a plethora is, to which Jefe kind of calls him out of, is this one of those times where you're really mad about something else and you're just taking it out on me?
A little psychology from Jefe.
Yeah. Is it about Carmen? Kind of things. He throws it at him. So, I mean, that was kind of ballsy on Jefe's part. I mean, I would say Jefe is his best friend. He's his right-hand man, and he still answers to him, but by far his best friend. So he's the one guy that can talk to him like that.
Yeah.
And this is where they talk about how Carmen, he can't just take Carmen. He goes in the speech, you want the guns, you just go take the guns. You want a woman, you just take the woman. And he goes like, no, you can't just prune a flower in the desert. The flower will bloom. So when do you think Carmen will open up her flower? Tonight, or I'll kill her.
I'll kill her.
Or I will kill her.
I wonder how many people of our generation know of the word plethora from this movie.
Because this movie? Yes. Absolutely, I do.
Yeah, same here.
I never heard that movie before.
I mean, even people who don't like the movie, or obviously people that don't have good taste. Just the fact that it's still in the lexicon of our vocabulary, solely because of this movie. Mm-hmm. The Amigos now are trying to infiltrate the compound of El Guapo. They're up on the mountain ridge with their great big black sombrero silhouettes.
Yeah, very stealthy.
Yeah, there's no way that they wouldn't normally be seen.
Yeah, besides the fact they're in the desert wearing black, I'm sure they're hot as balls already.
They're able to infiltrate the compound in a very comedic way. You've got a lone guard. Let me throw a rock and distract him.
They throw it over there. Or he basically sit there trying to just describe the place he should throw it, and he ends up throwing it and just hitting the guard, knocking him out. He's like, oh, or that works.
But even before that, as they're coming around the side of the mission, two guards are walking by and they just freeze.
They freeze and walk on. So now every time I see something like that, it just reminds me of Drax from Avengers.
Hey, yeah, there you go.
I'm moving so slowly. My movements are so precise that I become invisible to the naked eye. So now I know where they got that joke from.
So the Amigos climb to the upper side of the wall, and they try to all get inside the compound through swinging on the
pinata lines.
The pinata lines, I guess, for lack of better description.
Or just cables that were used for him.
You got, so Ned swings and his spurs get caught on the center pole. And so he's hanging there.
He's just hanging there, holding on.
You've got Chevy Chase swings, Dusty Bottom swings and goes all the way into where they're holding Carmen and follows it, goes all the way into the closet.
And the door closes.
And Steve Martin goes straight to the ground.
He just face plants. It's like, oop, wrong rope. and then as he gets up, sees him.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I have 3 demands. 1, and he starts listing them out. Number 1, stop harassing the people of Santa Poco. And then number 2, all the lands of Mexico should be equally redistributed amongst the people. 3 separate legislative. He goes into this Democratic Republic speech. And right as he's about to say number 3, El Guapo comes up and just starts choking him. And number 3, return the girl Carmen and her. That's funny.
Yeah, so Steve Martin gets captured. He's put in irons in the basement in this contraption, which is
very James Bondish.
It's hilarious and medieval, but yet very impractical as he gets out eventually.
Yeah.
Why would you even give the prisoner a way out? That I don't get. But he's strapped against the wall. He's got the chains on him, and if he can muster the strength to walk all the way to the mechanism holding the chains and hit the lever, they'll release.
It releases the weights from the chain.
But if he doesn't have the strength, it springs him back to the wall with force.
Which leads to another thing that I quote all the time. Gonna make it. Gonna make it. Gonna make it. Didn't make it. Didn't make it. Didn't make it. Didn't make it. He's flashback. But yeah, and they taunt him because they just throw the keys to the cups right there on the floor next to the mechanism.
There's also the other one in there where he gets all the way. He's like, I made it. But he doesn't pull the lever.
Or it's the wrong lever because he pulls the lever, but it's the wrong one, and he just slams back. Ow!
And it looks like they pull him back hard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that's not a real brick wall, but
while he's trying to escape that thing, Martin Short is just kind of hanging in there. they cut to him now and then. He's just kind of hanging.
Yeah, because by this time they're playing the mute. They're doing the little serenade. Down the steps and everything. They cut to Martin Short, and he's just like bobbing back and forth, enjoying the music, watching the people dance. Because El Guapo's out dancing. They cut to Dusty.
Yeah, Chevy Chase is in the wardrobe.
Yeah, Carmen opens the wardrobe and surprises him.
Yeah, so she helps him escape from the single guard who's asleep outside her room.
Yeah, he can't even muster up the will to pistol whip the guard who's asleep. So Carmen's just sick and tired of his shit. Walks over, grabs the gun, and smacks him. So they put on his clothes. So he tries to sneak stealthily through, and gets caught up by another drunk guy who pulls him, of course, to the direct center of the dinner celebration. Right as
it goes to one of my favorite scenes where El Guapo, after getting some gifts, he's got a nice sweater from Jefe and some guns. Yeah, but he goes off to his men. He goes off to his men, and he's like,
I know all of you.
You and me, we did this. And then he goes to another guy. You and me, we did this together. Then he gets finally to Dusty. He's like, you and me,
Jose. Yes, Jose. Together we
pillaged the village.
Plundered the village and raped the horses and rode off on the women.
And pruned
the hedges of many small villages. Who the hell are you?
When these gringos keep dropping from the sky?
Yeah.
And at that moment, Martin Short...
Yes,
I love the dropping of Martin Short there, the obvious dummy. I mean, it hits hard, like on his head. And
then he gets up like normal. Before that, though, I will say one of the things I hadn't noticed before when they were doing the present. So he's standing there, and Jefe brings him his present in front of him. El Guapo goes to stand up. The chair is stuck to him, like the chair he was sitting in is stuck to his,
like his ass is too big.
He became up, was stuck to him like this, and as he's unwrapping, Jefe reaches around and pulls the chair off him, and it's something I never noticed before. I thought that was hilarious.
I never noticed that.
And what is the downside of wearing your guns to the dinner table, I guess?
This is true. So then next, when Martin Short is getting up, the German recognizes him as Ned Nederlander, the fastest gun in film and one of his heroes. And he idolized him, and he grew up learning all his moves, watching all his movies.
He was inspired to learn the art of the quick draw.
Yeah, and then he learned all about movie tricks and he felt betrayed by this and that no one could ever be that fast.
Martin Short's like, no, I never used, movie trick. I never used trick photography. I am that fast. To which he's like, oh, viva si. And as you Americans say, viva play for keep.
Yeah, and you got a Jefe that walks Martin Short to his side of the duel.
Gives him a big-ass gun. He's like, you don't want to die with a sissy gun like these.
Sissy gun. And he gives Martin Short the gun, and it goes straight to the ground.
He almost falls over when he picks it up and tries to put it in the holster.
Which is not a one-note joke, because when they do shoot, which Martin Short wins the duel, but when he shoots, the gun is so heavy and powerful, it sends him all the way back to the wall, and the gun flies right up in the air, and Steve Martin is standing there and catches it.
And Steve, it's heavy for Steve Martin too, but he gets a little better of a hit because when he catches it, it like goes off. But that's when, Steve Martin shoots a couple guys. Yeah, and Ned takes out the German. Lucky kills one of the German friends, and then Dusty, as the younger friend, their shorter friend, is about to fire back. Dusty grabs a knife from someone's boot and throws it and sticks his arm to the wall. And then they point the guns. They all point the guns at El Guapo.
Yeah. So the Amigos have a chance to make an escape. They've all got guns pointed at El Guapo, and no one wants to make a move because El Guapo will go down first. They all want to protect their leader.
And El Guapo tells him, go ahead, do what he says.
And Carmen's outside with horses, so they're able to.
It takes them it takes two grown men entirely too long to open that gate because they're kind of dizzy.
Yeah, pretty much El Guapo is probably thinking, we're going to crush these guys regardless.
We'll kill them.
So now we cut back to Santa Poco they know El Guapo's coming. They need a plan. They need to do something, and they have to kind of pep up the villagers as far as, what can you do? Carmen's helping them. What's something this village can do really well?
We can sew.
If only we'd have known that sooner.
Only I know this earlier. Which is the weird line. And it's important to point out that they have all this time because they stole the Germans' plane in order to get to Santa Poco with plenty of time.
This is true. Yeah, they do have time because they flew.
And then he come with the crazy idea of like, hey, do you remember what we did in the film Amigos, Amigos, Amigos? So you get a montage of everybody in town just sewing black fabric. And that's all you get, including Ned, who's working one of the machines.
Ned does some sewing. Ned even goes to the old lady. I have this quote here. So very old one. So like the wind. So then El Guapo and his men, they enter the town, and no one is to be seen. It's just quiet. It's empty. And then they start getting fired at, pot shots from the Amigos at random places. And it is always Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin Short.
It's all three of them. I have a note on that later, but I will say, and then all of a sudden you get to the one scene where one guy's hiding behind a room shooting while the other two run in the building, and then the same thing, two more run in the same building, and then another one runs in the building, and it keeps going like this until finally the last person running in the building is Chevy Chase. The only time you ever see their faces, it's the three main guys. So you don't know quite what's going on yet. And it basically, a lot of the henchmen and everything die, and then the majority of them are like, "Screw this, we're out of here, El Guapo," and they leave. So it's pretty much El Guapo and Jefe left. He's like, "Go on, you cowards!" Jefe turns around and is like, "I'm still here, El Guapo." Bang! To which he does the little cartoon. He falls off the horse, rolls over, stands all the way up, fires his gun in the air, and then just falls forward like 100% cartoon death.
I'm still with you, El Guapo.
And El Guapo finally gets started from his horse. He finally gets shot. The shooting stops, and the three Amigos come out. And then a second later, that's when you see everyone else in the town dressed as the Amigos come out. And I will say, for a town that only is good at sewing, they sure have a hell of a lot of revolvers.
Especially since they said earlier, we have no weapons. They said that quoted line.
Slight issue there.
But that's all right. That's all right. El Guapo is the last person alive for the bad guys, and he does get off one final shot to shoot Steve Martin in the foot.
That was a good trick too. I would like to note that when all that in all the scenes where they showed the montage of all the amigos while they're firing, they were all, like you said, every time you see them, they're always those three actors. They had the full suits and everything. Yep. When all the other the fake amigos come out, you can tell, they're just in the black. None of them have the tie. None of them have the red tie. None of them have the red cummerbund. They're just in black suits, black hats, and they have really cheap designs on them to make it look okay from afar. But in every prior scene, every single one of them had the full, like, red. The big one that stood out to me was the red cummerbund.
Yeah, it was a good kind of switcheroo. Try to, you knew what they were going for, but yet you saw only the amigos.
Yeah.
So the amigos and the citizens of Santa Poco win the day. El Guapo's defeated. Justice has been served. Now they all must say goodbye. So we get a scene of the villagers with the three amigos. Well, first we got the ladies have to say goodbye.
Yeah, there was the boy. The boy came up. Can I have your watch?
Dusty gives the boy his watch.
Yeah, Dusty gives him his watch, which is kind of cool. And then Dusty's woman, "You can kiss me on the veranda," girl comes up. Nice little kiss. Carmen has the little speech. Lucky,
I'll come back someday.
Why? I just thought, we could, no. Oh, okay.
Oh.
That was funny. And then Ned seems to win the lottery in this department as, like, supermodel girl who, to my recollection, I had never seen in the movie prior to this scene.
This lady, she's billed as Hot Senorita.
Yes.
In the credits. Has one line, "Hasta luego, Ned."
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the only scene she was ever in.
Her name is Rebecca Underwood Ferrati, and Playboy Playmate of the Year, June 1986.
Way to go, Ned! But yeah, I'm fairly certain that was her only scene in the movie.
It was, yeah.
One of those. Where the hell did she come from? She was never in the movie until now.
And Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, just staring.
Just looking at him like, what the shit?
It wasn't like the pecs that Chevy and Steve Martin got. No, it was a deep kiss. And then the amigos ride off into the sunlight or sunset to their theme song.
But not after refusing the money, just as they did in the movie.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the money.
They did do that.
Martin Short wanted to, but then he just kind of looked at the other two guys and, like, our reward is that justice has been done.
Yeah. And then, they ride off in the sunset and then amigos music.
My thoughts on this was a wonderful 103 minutes of film. I mean, it flies fast, laugh a minute, small gags, amazing sets, great performances, wonderful score. And it is, to me, in my opinion of movie, of a good comedy, it is hitting on all cylinders. I'm a little taken aback by the fantasy element. It's so it's hilarious, but out of place.
And I'll agree.
It's like, okay, you roll with it because the movie is just so good and the scene is just so good. I mean, put that scene in a fantasy movie, it'd still be great. It's just like, all right, okay.
Yeah, it just has no place in this movie. And that's half the reason it's kind of funny. It's like, what the hell are they doing?
It's not a bad departure like in The Last Jedi, where they go on a whole side mission that means nothing. And it's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Whereas here, it still serves a purpose to the plot. It's just a little bit off on the regular storyline that they were doing. But I loved it. It was amazing movie.
Oh yeah, this movie is one of those great, like, one-liner movies and consistent comedy. Great things. I can't think of any particular portion of this movie that I didn't like. Even as you said, like the fantasy portion of it that didn't mix. And it's one of those things that I just never thought about how it didn't mix. I just thought it was hilarious.
Exactly. One thing I would mention as far as the two non-Amigo leads, more or less, but Patricia Martinez, who played Carmen, you've seen her somewhere else. Do you know where?
I was actually planning on looking that up, and I didn't get around to it.
She was in Beetlejuice.
You are right. I did look that up. She was the cheerleader, or no, she was the beauty queen, Miss Argentina
Beauty
or something
queen.
that had the wrist. I did look that up, but I looked that up earlier. I totally forgot about that. I forgot to write that down. Yeah. She was the receptionist downstairs.
Yeah. Until I had my little accident.
Oh, man.
And Alfonso Arau, El Guapo, I don't know if I said that right. And if I didn't, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you've seen Coco, the Pixar movie, that I did not cry while watching. I promise. But he voiced Papa Julio in it, so it's a decent part there. So something quite a bit recent that he has been in.
I'll have to put that one on my list. I have not seen it.
Oh, Coco is a great movie. I highly recommend it. Don't watch it if you happen to have a 3-year-old who does not understand what the land of the dead means.
Yeah.
That was a bit awkward, and we didn't watch it again for a couple of years. But great movie, nonetheless.
All right. I'll put that one on the list.
As far as does it hold up today, in my opinion, absolutely it does. It's just a comedic masterpiece. In the cultural sensitivity thing, there are some people, I'm sure, that would be, you say that it paints 1914 Mexico in a poor light as far as some of the people, but I disagree. I think that this movie makes the Americans look really bad because the Three Amigos are idiots. The Americans that you see at the movie studio, they're money grubbing assholes. Mm-hmm. So nowhere in this movie is an American painted in a good light.
As I say, aside from the obvious Mexican bad guys, the rest of the Mexican citizens are I would say, portrayed in a very good light.
And it isn't the Americans save the day; the town saves themselves. Mm-hmm. It's really, there's a lot of comedic elements through it. The bartender and other things, but even the American at the cantina who tries to hit on Carmen, he's an asshole. Exactly. So it's every single American is not. It's all played for laughs, to the detriment of your traditional American dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would agree. I think this movie totally holds up today. I could watch this over and over again. In fact, I might. If you were thinking about this movie as being told from a different perspective, what angle would you take?
I put the bartender. I would like to see a series of just like little webisodes of just random people coming into the bar. And just
that's good.
What leads up to him saying that, man, this job is too dangerous for me. I love Fred Asparagus. He plays that role so wonderfully.
I actually put down the Ballad of El Guapo, the story of a local wealthy landowner who gets terrorized by culture-stealing Americans. Culture appropriation right there.
First they kill his best friend, then they come after him.
Yeah. Then they take his woman. Then they come after him.
They invade his home and steal his woman.
Now he's looking to get even. As far as who this movie is for, I honestly would say pretty much anybody. As long as you're old enough to understand that people can get shot and people can die. Obviously, yes. Yeah. Obviously, there is gun violence in this movie. There is one scene of blood, but it was still PG-13, wasn't it? There's no bad.
I had no issue with my kids watching this movie. Because it was just a straight comedy, and it's all the the deaths are for laughs, in a cartoony way, like you said. I wonder though if this type of movie were made today, if it would be as much of a success as it was in the mid '80s, because. Not that there was an appetite for a comedy Western then. There's not really an appetite for a comedy Western now. I know Adam Sandler had a recent one that apparently was a flop.
The most recent one I can think of is like the Once Upon a Time in the West with... was
that the Adam Sandler one?
No, it was the guy from Family Guy. Name blank.
Oh, Seth MacFarlane.
Yes.
But I think that flopped too.
Yeah, that didn't do too well.
There's just nobody really wants to see a Western these days. Well, I take that back. There's a lot of great Westerns, but just in a comedy.
Yeah, if you want a Western these days, it's got to be Westworld or like the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or that kind of Western. I think that's the more gritty.
There's been some good ones recently with the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford and 3:10 to Yuma. Mm-hmm. those aren't really recent. Now that I think about it, those are probably 10 years old. But those
like
types
Westworld,
but those
for
are
example.
Those are gritty. Westworld is probably the most recent Western styled, and Westworld's not even Western anymore. As far as recasting this or having a different version, my answer is no.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can't.
If they ever come out with we're remaking Three Amigos, I will boycott it till the day I die. This one is sacred territory.
Mm. Even if I had a gun to my head, I couldn't think of anybody else, save for minor characters. Definitely not the main three.
In order to do it, you'd have to do it like you said with Galaxy Quest. In space, you have to do an entirely different movie. With that fake actor concept.
Which again,
but to do a beat for beat movie, I think would be a terrible idea.
Mm.
I'm glad it is sitting there as just a moment in time. Who would you like to recommend for the Hall of Fame from the Three Amigos? Ooh. The Cinema Decon Hall of Fame. I have mine in my mind, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to budge on it.
To me, from this one, out of everybody in the movie, my favorite performance came from Chevy Chase, with all the one-liners. However, I mean, I'm fairly certain this is the first time I ever saw Martin Short, and this movie made me fall in love with Martin Short. So I'm kind of on a fence between those two.
My pick is Martin Short.
And I'm absolutely okay with that, because this movie made me fall in love with Martin Short. And I've seen so many other things because of this.
I saw this before I discovered SCTV, where I saw him doing his Martin Glick or other things. That guy with the spike hair,
the spike,
where he does that dance. I saw this before Inner Space or anything else. So this was Martin Short. Immediately entering my memory as a legend.
Absolutely, when I think of Martin Short, he will always be Ned, little Neddy Clickers. So yeah, I'm definitely down for Martin Short. I know Chevy Chase is obviously going to have plenty other options to jump into the Hall of Fame.
And I want to say that Martin Short would only have Inner Space. I think that might be the only one.
He was more of a big TV guy. I don't know if he was in too many movies.
I know he's a side character in Father of the Bride, but those aren't on our list. Yeah.
No, but from in his acting prime is pretty much Inner Space, which was definitely the second movie I saw him in. As far as a different type of version of this movie, I mean, it's kind of a lighter musical already. I don't know if it'd work really as kind of a darker or grittier movie. It'd be
I say this is where I say it.
Don't change it at all.
Is perfect.
About the only way I could see it working for the genre is to actually make it a silent movie. Make the entire thing a silent movie, which would suck from a watching perspective, but it would still be kind of funny.
If I had to change anything, add a few more fantasy elements,
just to even it out.
Yeah, something towards the beginning. Maybe the whole mission. We're on a mission from God, sort of thing.
Give him some sunglasses.
We're 106 miles from Santa Poco.
We got a half a canteen of water, 6 packs of cigarettes, 3 revolvers.
That's right.
That's right. Mount up. It means get on your horses.
Okay, we can move on here.
I think we're up to ranking at this point.
Now is the time on our show where we rank the movie based on our fan review while also adding in the IMDb rating. This is a 10-point scale, and the average will be put in our mega list. Aaron, what's your ranking for The Three Amigos?
So this movie holds a special place in my heart. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time. I give this baby an 8.5.
Well-deserved 8.5.
What about you, sir?
This movie also holds a very firm place in my heart. I almost want to give it a perfect score, but it is not a perfect movie. Not by a long shot. But I am going to have to agree with Aaron on an 8.5. It's exactly
look at us.
Exactly where it should be.
Mm.
So, what is the
IMDb does not agree with us. And that's another thing. When I was so IMDb has this at a 6.5, and this is another thing that I found when I was originally looking this up. I had a lot of review articles came up for it, the majority of them were bad review, like Rotten Tomatoes type bad reviews. And I don't understand it. I didn't read the reviews. It's their little news blurbs that give out like first two sentences. And that's about all I read. I went through 10 of these, and it basically made me realize that I don't agree with any of these people that are reviewing these movies. It was ridiculous. How could anybody give this movie a bad review? I can understand not being an 8.5. Fine. 6.5, maybe a little harsh to me. I could see a 7 as probably the lowest I'd go on this. But clearly, not everybody has the taste that you and I have.
But by our powers combined, final score of 7.83 repeating, which puts this at the top of our list as the number one movie.
Bazinga. We have a new champion. The belt get passed, which is another discussion we had earlier of how we had some bad math a little earlier on our list.
Math is hard.
Where we found out, math is really hard. That was a long time ago. You don't use math in real life anyway, right? So we incorrectly tallied the total or the composite score for Independence Day. And it was way. So Independence Day actually was our top movie, edging out Wet Hot American Summer up until now, if I'm correct. It was what did you say, 7.6?
Yes, 7.6.
So it was our top movie, and it has now been dethroned. So we're sorry. You're welcome. So this is a segment where we talk about, give a little pitch to other things that we're watching at the times, give a little shout out. So, for example, Steve, is there any shows you're binge watching now, or any recent off-table movies you've seen that you'd like to give a shout out to?
So I'd like to mention a little-known sitcom that's available on Netflix called Kim's Convenience. Yeah, it's got 5 seasons, and season 5 is his last one. But it's about a Korean store owner in Toronto. It's half an hour long, and it's absolutely hilarious. You will know Mr. Kim, Aaron, by the X-Wing pilot in The Mandalorian during one episode. The Korean-looking guy with a beard.
Yes. He
plays Mr. Kim. About. He's the head of the Kim family, and it's a hilarious little family dynamic of running this convenience store. And we're in the middle of season 5 right now, which is the final season. But it's worth noting that the son in it. The son is played by Simu Liu, and if I butchered that name, I'm sorry. But he is going on to be the lead in the new Marvel movie, like 10 Rings.
Shang-Chi?
Yeah.
Shang-Chi? Yeah.
He's playing the lead in that.
Nice.
So I didn't realize that, and then I saw a poster for it online the other day. It's like, oh man, that's Jung from Kim's Convenience, the store the movie, the sitcom that I'm watching right now. It's hilarious. There's only like 13 episodes a season, and quite funny. Highly recommend.
Nice. So one of the ones that I've picked up lately is probably a little more known to a lot of people. It is the latest Marvel show that just launched on Wednesday of last week, which is Loki. So Loki is the third of the Marvel MCU TV series to drop on Disney Plus. It follows, for anybody that it basically picks up from the last Avengers movie, timeline-wise, and also meshes into the first Avengers movie, timeline-wise. And we basically get to see what Loki has been up to since, I guess, both of these movies. There's wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff going on in there. It basically has to do with Loki gets caught escaping a timeline and gets caught by the Time Variance Authority, basically the Time Police, and has to work off his sentence by helping them out on cases. It sounds weird when I say it out loud, but the 2 episodes that I've seen have jumped it to the top of it. Jumped it ahead of one of my favorite nice. Marvel show. It started off funny and it got real after that second episode. So I can't wait for episode 3. I would highly
I've seen
recommend
the trailers. We'll wait for all of them to post before we like to binge it all at once.
It's another one of those. Yeah. If I had the time, I would definitely binge them all, because I've re-binged WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier both, and they're more fun to binge. But man, yeah, I can't wait that long.
All right, should we spin?
I think it's time to spin that wheel.
All right, 3, 2, 1, here we go. $3.19.
We're staying near the end of it.
Ooh.
What do we got?
The Kevin Bacon classic, Tremors.
Yes. This is a fun movie for me when I was growing up.
I have very vague recollections of this, and just like the guy from Family Ties, and
I'm drawing a blank. The guy that was Reba McEntire's husband, the gun nut. That's who I'm thinking of.
That's the dad.
That's
from Family
Ties. Okay.
Yeah,
I haven't seen Family Ties in so long. Bert. I just remember him as Bert, and I remember Reba McEntire, the saucy redhead, the saucy gun nut redhead. We didn't have Christine Taylor in it, so I got to go to default to someone. All right, well, that's all for this episode. Thank you for listening, and we hope you stay with us through this little experiment. What did you think of Three Amigos? Let us know on our socials, and we'll be sure to tell you how wrong you are.
Please don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Check out our website in the show notes to see the full list of movies we'll be covering in our rankings thus far. You can also visit us on our Patreon, where we'll try to post some outtakes before the final cut.
We'll see you next time
on Cinema Decon.
This hold music brought to you by alcohol.